So can the Jaguars pull off the upset? They might have to outscore the Chiefs. Well, okay, they have to outscore the Chiefs. That's how you win football games. But I mean, they might have to have a good offensive performance to get this done. I predicted in my last video a very good offensive performance by the Chiefs. Can the Jaguars do better? Well, let's get into it. If you look at the this chart you see on the screen, this is where each of these teams ranked in specific positional categories according to Pro Football Focus. For Jacksonville, you see that the 13th ranked pass unit and that's passing, so when Lawrence is throwing the football, and then 20th best receiving unit. On paper, makes you feel like against the 4th best coverage unit, they should have some trouble. But of course, for Jacksonville, it's been a consistency thing for them all year. I think even the most diehard Jaguars fans would admit, if the Jaguars play their, lowest we've seen them play this year, they don't stand a chance in this one. But if they play their best we've seen them play this season, they absolutely do stand a chance in this one. But again, going to be tough against a Kansas City coverage unit that covers well. The pass rush has also performed well for Kansas City, although pass blocking has been a nice surprise for Jacksonville. They've blocked pretty well for Lawrence this year. Run blocking has been a mess, though. They don't run block very well, according to PFF, but they do run the ball pretty well. ETN does a good job there. Kansas City Chiefs run defense is definitely the way you can beat them, and maybe a way that we will see the Jaguars attempt to beat them. In Week 10, these two teams played, and this was Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars' box score. Nothing terrible, but nothing great either. I mean, 259 yards on 40 attempts is lower than you would like, but the 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, you'll take that. The rushing totals, Travis Etienne had a fine day. Nothing like it's not bad. 4.1 yards per carry, you'll take that on 11 carries, but nothing spectacular either. Christian Kirk, kind of the one stat line you look at and say, okay, wow, that was a great day. 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a fantastic one. Zay Jones made some nice plays. Marvin Jones made a nice play. But as a whole, nothing to write home about. Although looking at the PFF grades from this game, this is the Jaguars' offensive PFF grades. Everyone who got a snap, this is where they graded. Top of the list is the best, bottom of the list is the worst. You see Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk at the top, and if they're going to win, that's probably going to be what has to happen again. They're probably going to both have to post 80 or higher grades another time if they're going to pull off this upset. But the rest of the team really kind of was a letdown. I mean, the number 3 on this list was with a 63.9 grade. That's really not going to get it done. You need other guys to come through. Kirk and Lawrence can't do it alone. You also see Brandon Sheriff had a rough day in this one, all the way at the bottom of the list. We'll get more into that when we get into the film in just a second. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, you look at them, it's not like a lot of guys were going off either for them, but one thing worth noting is that they didn't really have any massive weak links. I mean, Juan Thornhill, L'Jarius Sneed didn't have their best days, but still, 52 for your worst graded player is not the worst case scenario in a situation where, we always talk about with defense, it's a weak link sport, so being able to just have everyone play okay is not the worst thing in the world. Couple guys worth noting, I think Chris Jones towards the top of the list, more on him in a second. Also, just the linebackers played very well for Kansas City. But yeah, let's get into the film and let's talk about something like this, which I think is very interesting. So a lot of what the Chiefs like to do is they play a ton of 2 safety deep coverages. They've been doing this before the trend has become every team plays 2 safety deep coverages. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that you can run the ball effectively, right? Because, just think about it logically. Typically on a running play, you have 2 guys who can't block. The guy who has the football, the running back, and then the guy who gives the running back the football, the quarterback. Those 2 guys are not going to be able to block, meaning you have 9 blockers. But if you're playing a team who has 2 safeties deep, this means that there's 9 guys who can be around the football to make a play, meaning you have someone who can block everybody. However, look at that guy for Kansas City. That's going to be Nick Bolton on this play. He's going to do a pretty good job, I would say. Like, watch how he runs in. Actually makes a very good play. Wasn't blocked initially. I think an offensive lineman was supposed to get out and block him, but he just read the play quickly and got over to be able to make the play. But it was still a nice run by ETN. And that's kind of what the Jaguars are, probably going to try and do in this game a little bit more is run the ball effectively, and that does a couple of things, right? The first thing it does is it limits possessions, which can be a key factor in this one, as you don't want to play a 14-possession game against Kansas City. You're going to lose. You just are. You need to limit possessions. You need limiting possessions favors the underdogs. You are underdogs in this game. Don't be ashamed of it. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with his sort of slogan being that they were the underdogs. They were wearing dog masks. So, maybe bring the dog mask for this one. I don't know, because that's the way you want to do it. And also, of course, just I think can be an effective way to move the ball down the field, which is obviously a nice benefit that's what you're trying to do on offense. I do think going over to stuff like this, I think the Jaguars will be effective when the Chiefs play zone. And of course, if you run the ball effectively, the Chiefs are going to want to play more zone, which can definitely open stuff up in the passing game. Something like this, where you're going to kind of run a zone buster to get someone open over the middle. Watch as when Lawrence takes the snap, he's going to look down the field, and this play is working. You have successfully schemed somebody open. Lawrence makes this throw, and they're able to pick up a chunk play, and you have to think that, again, if they're going to win this game, this is going to be a factor. This is going to be something they're going to have to do if they're going to, find a way to win it. They can also do stuff like this, which is against man coverage. I think they'll be not quite as good. I think this would favor Kansas City. I think Kansas City will want to play more man coverage, which is why running the ball should be so important. And you can run the ball well against man coverage typically, so that might be a key thing. But also just getting guys to win one-on-one matchups would be huge. And a lot of times it's going to come down to Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, Lawrence is going to have a good day if they're going to win this one, because these types of plays often require good throws. Watch as when Lawrence takes the snap, he's going to look towards his left, and you see that Marvin Jones right there on the outside is, not really open, right? I mean, it's not open. It's a 50-50 ball. But Lawrence throws him open. Look at this throw. A thing of beauty. And if he can make a few of those in this game, he might have to make a few of those in this game if they're going to win, but that might be the way that you can pull it off and pull off this victory and get a good offensive day, is to get stuff like that going. There definitely are ways this Jaguars team can score. You cannot count this Jaguars team out. I really don't think you can. Of course, I said I would talk about Brandon Sheriff. Gotta talk about it. I don't really blame him that much. This is a Chris Jones thing for me. Chris Jones is he's someone you have to deal with. He's a force, and he is definitely someone who can take over games at this point. My podcast co-host Kyle says that he should win Defensive Player of the Year, and he should be in the conversation for sure with how he's played this year. Watch Jones be able to win this matchup immediately, gets the sack right there. Just a great job by Jones. They also got some pressure on the edge as well, so that helps when you're getting pressure from multiple different ways, and that's just something that the Jaguars are going to have to deal with, something they're going to have to deal with, and definitely you want to make sure that you minimize those big plays, because the idea of just taking them out of the equation seems unlikely. It feels like Chris Jones will get some big plays, just don't let them be devastating. So final prediction, the Kansas City defense, despite the fact that they grade really well according to PFF, hasn't been quite as good. 2.11 points given up on the season is, on the lower half. The Jaguars offense is on the upper half with 2.17. Neither are otherworldly in one way or the other. In week 10, the Jaguars scored 17 points in 11 drives, just 1.55 points per drive. I think they'll be better the second time out. I really do. I think that there's things that they can do. I expect a better performance. I'm predicting 2 points per drive, which would be, if it's a 12-drive game, 24 points in 12 drives. One of the ways that might benefit them to win is try to get those drives down, actually. Get it from, instead of 12 drives, make it a 10-drive game. That could be a way you can win. My final prediction is Jaguars 24, Chiefs 36. That feels right to me. I think that for Jacksonville, if they're going to win this game, I think probably the biggest pathway to victory for Jacksonville is a bad Mahomes performance, which we have seen before. I talked about this in my last video. We've seen Mahomes have those occasional bad performances. Doesn't tend to happen too consistently, though. So I don't know how much I'm going to bank on that happening in this one. However, it's possible, and that's just what you hope for. If you're Jacksonville, that's what you're talking yourself into. And again, if you can put up 24 points, it's a little bit easier to, you get one turnover, one pick six, for example, all of a sudden, that could completely shift the game and, make it the other way around. So there's no pathway to victory. There is, but I think the Chiefs deserve to be favored in this one. That's kind of my viewpoint on it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the way this game could go? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.